Ooh, that sugar sweet, you got what I need. Sipping on the potion, all that good emotion, just my kind of heat. Keep it on repeat, tested by the motion, loving this devotion. Live it up, live it up, live it up, sweet emotion. Every time, every night.
Alrighty, test drive time, my favourite part of the week. So, what do we have here? We've got a 550 horsepower Cummins. She's on a straight shaft drive. This is a boat, if you're looking for a hull that's going to look after you, if you're looking for a hull for transiting at sensible speeds and really going on the lower fuel consumption side, and a boat that is not going to throw anyone around. This Whitehaven 40 is absolutely that style of boat. And why is it that style of boat? The weight, so the displacement, and the underwater profile. We're going for a traditional down east style of hull where we've got a flared Carolina bow, cutting section, and then it comes back to a bit of a keel underneath the boat. And I can feel already where I'm just putting along at 4 or 5 knots, this thing's solid and it's not wanting to rock around. So unlike some of the other boats you would have seen me driving on the channel, which are lighter, more go fast style of boats, this is way more in the gentleman's cruiser category, something that you can point and relax. So if you want to converse with your mates, if you just want to go places at a reasonable speed but not eat up so much fuel that it's really noticing on the hip pocket, this is the kind of hull that you would look for. And look at the drone shots in a second, it's bloody gorgeous. So that's something worth keeping in mind. But what do we have here? I'm going to get moving pretty quickly because I suspect I'm going to enjoy this. Quite an ergonomic throttle base. So this is a metal throttle base for the Cummins. You can rest your palm like that and really operate it with your fingers. And then if you're in a parking scenario, I feel like you might do a little bit of that action, but that's very comfortable. There is a transition because this boat has got the hydraulic thrusters, and I'll talk about that in a second. You can transition to a joystick. That's right, single shaft drive with a joystick. And I tell you what, this thing works. We can slew the boat sideways, twist the joystick and do a 360, and you could even do a station hold with a pretty decent wind because the hydraulics, they've got no, they never run out of power. They're always just going and going and going. You can just do set the speed with your fingers and thumb, and it'll keep doing its thing. But the underwater profile is going to part the waves. You've got more boat in the water rather than on the water, so cruising along, making your way at a leisurely pace through waves is going to be quite relaxing. Throttle base at hand, joystick up here. It makes sense from a parking scenario. You're going to possibly stand up and do this or do that. Now that's easy, and you will also, I won't put it down all the way, but this window drops down, so I've got buttons just here. So I have done some pulling up along to the dock in this boat, and you just stick your head out the window. So the joystick is in a really good position for that. So yes, you're going to favour pulling it on starboard, but Whitehaven have already thought about pulling it on port because there's a wing station down the back on the port side. So both sides are covered, visibility is fantastic, and as I said, these hydraulic thrusters, there's so much power. In saying that, I think a lot of people would still be absolutely fine with the electric ones, because electric thrusters are very good these days. They are quite capable. You do need to factor in that you can't just stay on the thruster forever, but if you know how to drive, you should be okay with that. Anyway, what are we looking at? I have got engine diagnostics, gearbox information here, fuel just here, chart plotter just here, water here, key start, C zone, that I'm not sure what that is. Also, I'll have to cut to something on that, I'm not sure. Zip wake, VHF, autopilot, boat systems. We've got a bit of carbon finish. The quality of build on this boat is fantastic. Like, it really is, because this is not a new boat. This is a 2019 model, and I'm looking around. Everything is in really good nick, and it's holding up to the test of time, which is pretty impressive. So anyway, let's get moving. I was at 4 knots before. I'm just bringing the boat up through 6 and 6.5 knots. Where's my revs? Okay, so my engine revs at 1,200. Yeah, 1,250. I'm just going to bring it up. Steering wheel's fixed. You don't really need an adjustable steering wheel on a boat like this. This is for leisurely cruising, so it's not something where you're going to be active, standing up, sitting down all the time. I reckon you would drive this boat from a seated position pretty much the whole day. You might be doing a little bit of this sort of thing. You know, if you were parking, you could park it like this. As I said, you could also stand up and hang your head out the window. And then when you're going places, you know, you're just going to sit here. A partner might join you next to you for the journey, and you can talk to all your friends. And the ability to have airflow coming in from here, from the side window, it is starting to get a little bit hot in Sydney now. It's quite nice, but I can see I've also got air conditioning outlets here at the helm, so you're not going to be wanting when that temperature gets a little bit too hot. Anyway, let's bring her up on the plane. So rolling through, okay, 1900, 2000, 10 knots. So I can see it's not the kind of boat that really drags its bum like a lot of traditional planing boats, because we're not a traditional planing boat. We're more of a displacement hull. So I'm making a few waves at 10 knots, but I'll just roll up the speed now. I feel like I want to get to 15. So my engine revs 2300 and climbing, 2400, 2500. It just goes straight. Like, it's super relaxing, this. 14 knots, 15.5 knots, and 2,600 revs just there. 16 knots. So that feels like a bit of a cruise speed. We'll just test this out. I've got 2 Navy warships coming in the harbour, so I'm just going to get in front of them. I don't like it when you get too close these days. The zip wakes are automatic. So zip wakes, they are like a deflector as opposed to a trim tab that goes down, and it's just sensing the boat's attitude and adjusting for it. He has got a little bit of pace on. That's a Anzac, I think it's a Hobart class air warfare destroyer. So I'm not going to get in his way. I'm actually just going to accelerate and get out of his way. It looks like he's doing about 15 knots. There we go. Okay, 18 knots. Bow settles down a little bit. You don't find yourself doing much in the way of steering. The boat just looks after you. I've got a few vibrations coming through the boat, which I guess I would expect. Big shaft, single diesel, lots of movement going on down underneath me, and I can feel a little bit of it through the wheel. But in saying that, it's a wheel that I'm not going to be paying too much attention to. I feel like you would just set the autopilot, sit back and do a bit of this, put the window down and just be the coolest guy on the harbour. We are rolling through some moderately sized swells just coming through the harbour here. I'm going to try and time this so I do a turn and he goes behind me, so he's definitely coming in at about 15 knots. So I'm going to actually get some gradual turning and increase my speed there. 18 knots, 19 knots. So you do, whilst you feel a few of the engine vibrations coming through the shaft and making their way through the wheel, this hull is just beautiful. Like, it's just slicing through what is some considerably confused water here. I've got swell coming in from this direction, bouncing off rocks and going back that way, and a mixture of boat wash. But at 20 knots, I don't know if that's wide open throttle yet. I'm on 3,030 revs at 20 knots. She just goes good. I'm not feeling the need to want to stand up. I feel like I could just assume cool position like this and just be very gentlemanly. Is that a word? Gentlemanly. Just be very comfortable, which is the idea on one of these boats. You're not going to need to be zipping around and adjusting for every wave. So we've got most of the swell behind us at the moment. It's just doing its thing. It's just looking after me. Now I'm gonna turn it off. You can see on the camera, boom, air warfare destroyer right there. We've only got 3 of them. I think we're going to need a few more of them pretty soon. But good to hear they're putting the Tomahawk missile pack on. Thank you very much, Yanks. We need them. And now let's give it some. I'm going to go wide open throttle. Oh yeah, she's got plenty more. So I've gone from 3,000 revs to 3,200. I'm going across the waves now, but I've got waves actually coming from both directions. Bigger ones from starboard and some small ones from port. No necessity to stand up or raise my body height because I've got quite good, clear vision over the bow. You know, if anything, one tiny blind spot by the anchor as we roll through the waves, but nothing that would be a danger to my progression through this sort of swell. And now, yeah, that's wide open throttle right there. I can see the zip wakes doing their thing. They are just doing a little bit of trim from here and there, and the boat just tracks. You know, this is beautiful. The noise levels are about what I would expect for a boat of this style. You know, you can't have low conversational noise with a 550 horsepower shaft Cummins right below the floor just there. You know, it's going to have to do something to make us go. So it's not quiet, but no other boat in this category is going to be quiet like that anyway. So you really got to go to outboards to get that sort of super low noise levels. This is just cool, capable, cuts through the water. Let's just bring it back to okay, so I've gone from, I'm back down to 3,000. My speed's dropping 20 knots and dropping. I got a ferry just passing me to port, and I'm just going to go straight. Actually, well, no, I'm not even going to adjust these waves. Let's let the boat do it. That's what this is about. You know, with this keel underneath the boat. Okay, 1, 2, 3. So no water over the bow, and here's the big ones. Choppity chop, yeah. Awesome. I'm doing 19 knots. I'm sitting on 3,000 revs. Let's just back it off a little bit, see what it feels like at 17. Okay, that's a real noticeable drop in noise, engine noise just there. Speed 18 knots and dropping at 2,800 revs. So that's your set and forget speed, somewhere in that 2,600 to 2,800 revs, because your speed return is, I'm sitting on 17 constant there at 2760, and I'll lower it just a tad and see what we get. Yeah, 2,600 to 2,800 is your cruising, 3,000 plus is your fast, and you really, like, your fuel burn, it's somewhat irrelevant. Big, torquey diesel, slippery hull that's capable. You're not going to be doing up and down on the power all the time because the hull just blasts through it. You're not doing all this steering to allow for this wave and that wave and the other wave. You know, if you've got guests who don't like boats that rock around, if you yourself don't like boats that sway all over the place, or even if you're just getting to that stage in life, you've come out of sailing, you're a yachty, and you still want to be on the water, but the knees are starting to go. Not even, I mean, I think I'm pitching that a little bit unfairly, because this is a super cool boat. If you're young, it's quite sexy, and a lot of people are going to be attracted to the down east styling of this. So I see this appealing to anyone with a bit of fashion sense for down east classic styling. Anyone who's coming out of sailing, want to stay on the water, but they want the comfort that this brings. And absolutely anyone who wants to actually go places and go boating regularly, be in a boat that's going to look after you weather-wise, keep out of the sun, have all the facilities that we have in what is still quite a small package. 40 feet, it's manageable. You could stick it in most berths. You could keep it on a swing mooring. It's yeah, I'm impressed. You know, if I was to talk about negatives, I don't even believe they are, but some things that people do talk about, it would be some of those noise levels at the higher speeds and coming up through the rev range. You do feel a little bit of vibration coming through the wheel, but that's normal. Any boat in this category is going to do that. So if you're calling that a negative, you're probably comparing it to the wrong boat. So it's just, it kind of is what it is. No, I feel cool. I enjoy this. I think we're going to go somewhere and have a go with this joystick. So we'll probably make a separate video about that. So subscribe and I'll upload that at some time. And I guess if you are finding this or these format of videos useful, let me know. I'm reading all these comments. Give me a thumbs up, because I'm listening and I'm trying to adjust my content to suit, because I'm making this for you guys. I just want to help you guys get access to more cool boats. Anyway, I wrap up on the performance of the Whitehaven 40. It's cool. It's comfortable. It'll go places, and it'll go places without limits. I'm Dan Jones. This has been Dan's Boat Life. See you on the next one.